study,
and play come together on a Windows 11 PC.
And for a limited time, college students get
The best of both worlds.
Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Hi, I'm Dave Barnes.
And I'm John McLaughlin.
And welcome to Dadville.
Dadville's a podcast where we talk about life, love, and the pursuit of awesome dadding.
It's funny thoughts and deep talks.
So please, enjoy your time here in Dadville and enjoy this episode with Sissy, Goff, and David Thomas, the mayor and governor.
Everybody just wants more of y'all. Can I be honest with y'all? When they see John and I, they're like, listen.
We've seen the numbers. It's in.
We have
People love you guys.
And we have David and Sissy with us.
Local government. Local government.
When was the last time anybody ever chanted
Has that ever
anywhere?
been
Anywhere. And you can take that back to 1776. You can take that, local government from the rafters. But I have to say quickly, I just have to really quickly acknowledge someone extra in the room. And it's not the Holy Spirit, but the Holy Spirit has used her. So when I was going, if you have heard me talk about my experience going to MTSU, which we've talked about some on the pod or interviews, just the myriad of other podcasts I've been on, one of the things I always talk about is that because people ask how I got into music. And so I'll say, well, I was playing drums and I went to Farragut High School in Knoxville. And then a woman from MTSU named Sharon Thomas came and talked about, school. And I went and listened. And she said, hey, your grades and these things look like maybe you could, we may be able to help you with money going to MTSU. MTSU had a phenomenal music program. I was like, oh, this is interesting. But I hadn't heard about MTSU at all. Anyway, fast forward, we do a visit. We actually tried to do a visit and we got stuck because it was snowing on the Cumberland Plateau. So we went back a second time. And I was like, this seems pretty cool. One of the funniest parts of the story to me is you had called. I don't even know if you remember this, but you had called the house and Dad answered. And I think we're all having dinner. And this is exactly what I heard. Hey, hello, Sharon. Well, that is fantastic. Yes, he will be going. That's great. And hung up the phone. And I was like, what was that, Dad? And he was like, oh, that was Sharon Thomas from DSU. They were able to offer you a full ride. And I told her you'd be going. I was like, well, I love that.
That's when Dave found out what college
That's when I found out I was going to MTSU, which was really exciting. I mean, I talk about Sharon all the time.
Wow.
I will, by name, I'll say, Sharon Thomas, off the sky changed my life. That's where I got into music. And then in the backyard today, as David and Sissy are walking in, I'm like, whoa. I recognize that face. My brain is scrambling. And she's like, well, it's me, Sharon. And that was like, everything just did that thing in the movie. Everything's just like, and then craziest part is she is David's sister. That is, you're just going to hear me through the podcast if there's just long moments of like, is Dave okay? And you just see me staring in the distance. That's why so many worlds are colliding. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad for you. I had to acknowledge that. And just crazy. It's like the way God uses people.
Yes.
I mean, it is a huge part of my story. I mean, it's like it's a Ebenezer moment, like a huge shift, And
that you all had this chapter in your story together that I didn't even know.
About.
We would meet decades later.
Yes.
And then Sharon would come to work with us and the intersection of those things. And I would discover this story. And I'm like, you have to come to Dadville with us.
Oh, my gosh. You have to. I'm just going to bring cookies to your house once I find out where you live, like every couple of weeks. So anyway, I'm so glad you're here.
Aww.
So, yes, please. You can do whatever you want. I probably owe you half of the stuff that's on my wall. So, okay, we're back. Now, this is what's exciting about right now. You guys have another book. It is about capability in our children. It's called, tell everybody.
Capable.
So that's great. So you guys really... When you thought of the title, you're like, let's just... Well, I didn't know if it had one of those, like, capable, how a child find it. It does. Thank you. What is the back half? Do y'all remember? Do y'all know?
The strengths, skills, and strategies to build resilience in kids.
See, I knew it was going to have that. I knew it was going to have the tail.
You're right.
It's always got the tail.
Yes.
So I guess one of the things... and I mean, this is always the launching point. And like, I was looking at the questions that they sent because it's always like good to kind of know. And they're really good questions. Now, John, because John is John, he brought in questions that were they're just so great and so articulate.
Let's not build them up too much.
Well, and half were in French, which I was so impressed. You just started to do that.
We doing? Yeah, that's my first question. Are we doing English or French today?
But I guess the first obvious question is, with any book, of course, is like, why the book? Why now? What sort of inspired y'all? And that was the first question on the list. And I was like, God, you just can't not, because like something John and I sort of pride ourselves in is not being the guys who are like just looking at the cheat sheet. But I mean, it does beg to be asked, why write the book? Why write it now? Like, what was the impetus for that?
We have, as y'all know, just in our conversations we've had, been increasingly concerned about mental health in kids. Mm-hmm. The rates of anxiety, the rates of depression, suicidality, all of that. Mm-hmm. And then there has been this movement or this shift following that where kids don't believe they're ready. They don't believe they can. They can't walk into a school building. They can't make a new friend. We're seeing more kids than we have ever who don't want to get their driver's license, who don't feel ready. They just don't feel like they can do hard things and sometimes don't want to do hard things. And it feels like kids are at this really important crossroads, and we have a section called Parents in Panic, but the anxiety of parents has risen so much, and they're trying to figure out, how much do I push? How do I know when to require them to do hard things? But we're just seeing this drop in confidence and capability of both kids and parents. And y'all know we've been doing this over 30 years and feel like we got to do something to right the ship. Like whatever we have in the two of our power, we're ready to change things for kids.
And does it feel like something unique to the last, like when you look back on your 30 years of experience, is it like this was like a steady train headed to where we are now? Or is it like in the last 5-6 years, it's really ramped up?
What John's asking is, since Dadville was started, do you feel like
have
it's
we
caused
made it
more
worse? Which one are we a part of? The problem or the solution?
Maybe both.
Solution.
We don't want to start there, but since you've offered that
the elephant in the room
as an obvious ingredient. No. You know what's interesting, John, as you asked that, I don't know that it did necessarily feel like a steady increase in the beginning. Like, if you had asked me 30 years ago, like, how many adolescent boys do you think you'll see that don't want to get their driver's license? I would have said zero.
Yeah.
I didn't encounter in the first decade any. And then
probably the opposite, right?
Absolutely. Chomping at the bit. Yeah. And then seeing a little evidence of that at some point 15 years ago, a little bit more, and then I think just before and around the pandemic, a significant shift like nothing we've ever seen. And I think it's easy for all of us to blame everything on the pandemic, but the reality is, if we look back at the stats pre-pandemic, like we were in a bad way at that point, and then everything just accelerated. So I don't know that it did for me feel like this slow increase, but it felt like a strong acceleration in the last season.
What is that? What has caused that?
Well, I'm with you. I think the pandemic accelerated it so significantly, because you think about during that season, we're seeing so many kids who were 5, 6, 7 in that window when kids were really moving through very important milestones. And, you think about how we experienced that is we felt really out of control. But the reality is, globally, we weren't in control, but personally, we were. We were in our homes, and we were not doing things, and kids weren't having to be in places that stretched them, that made them uncomfortable.
Oh, that's interesting. It was like we had too much control for a
Yes,
while.
we were cocooned kind of in this way. And so now, as a result, we're seeing kids who are averse to discomfort, don't want to move into that in any way, who experience social anxiety and feel like it's debilitating, and even kids who are averse to risk too. It's all of those things.
That is
together.
That makes so much more sense, because I mean, can I ask a dumb question? John asked the smart ones, but I'm here. It's good cop, bad cop. It's good smart cop, dumb cop. Because I just think this is always something that lives at the edge of my thinking around these things. Is like, does social media have anything to do with that? Is there something about kids seeing the world that way now that would sort of tell them either they can't do something, or how does that factor in?
100%.
Yes.
And I'd even go broader and say the animal of technology in particular. In fact, we have a whole section within the new book where we talk about the way that technology has gotten in the way and social media, even for parents. And, we have access to more information than we have ever had at any other time in history, which is great in so many ways and overwhelming, I think, for parents. Our Sissy talks about remembering her growing up and that there was one parenting resource at that point. It was Dr. Spock.
Yeah.
And it's like what most every parent read, and he was the source. And if you didn't get around to reading it, you would figure it out on your own. And now we have access to so much to where there is this paralysis with parents of thinking, I don't have enough information on board. And what if I make the wrong decision? And look at how this family's doing it on social media. And we're not doing as many family dinners. All the different ways that I think we're invited into being overwhelmed and comparing, to your question.
Man. So John was going to ask.
Well, I was just gonna
there's
say,
the dumb question, John.
Well, you bring up an older generation, and I do feel like I'm going to say first, I definitely feel like this is a real problem. I'm not saying that we're just in kind of a panic and we're in our version of our panic. But, and I feel this way with like the state of the world right now. Like it's troubling to me. Like it feels like the world is on fire. It's crazy. But then I think about like living through the 60s and just some of like the huge, everything that was going on, the president being assassinated, MLK, all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm searching for someone to be like, no, it's the same. It's okay. You're okay. Everybody's okay. In the 60s, it was even crazier or whatever. But one thing that I think is true is that every generation feels like the younger generation is less resilient, right?
Yes.
So those two things I'm saying are true. One is like, I really do feel like we have a problem with resilience. Just anecdotally with my own kids, I'm seeing the difference between their day-to-day life and what mine was or how I remember it. And yet at the same time, this is something that is always true of every single generation. So what do you guys think of those two things? Are they opposed to each other, or
what are the two things?
Dogs and cats. Like you feel
we do have a resilience problem.
Yes,
and
but
yet
that
at the same time, every generation has a resilience problem.
Yes. I think that's certainly true. And we have a section in the book where we talk about swings and extremes that really, when you think about corrections, that every correction initially is an overcorrection.
Yeah.
And so
God, that's good.
As we think about feeling like this generation is not going to have the resilience, so then we swing. And we, help me remember them if I get them wrong, but I think we start with needs-based parents, that when we were growing up, our parents were just trying to put food on the table because their parents couldn't because of where they were growing up. Then we moved towards success-based parents who were really trying to help their kids succeed. That was such a theme. Then we heard more than ever about parents who would come in, really probably in the first decade we were counseling, that were saying, I just want my kids to be happy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then it shifted to confidence. And now we're talking to parents who say, I just want my kids to have tools.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like what we feel like we didn't have, we're trying to swing and provide for the kids that we loved. And so there is still this sense of overcorrection. And all of it's true. It's both things and all the things. And how do we help focus on, we would say even the tools aren't really enough. I think that's part of this whole premise that we've landed in is therapy is obviously, we believe in it so strongly, and it's reactive. Whereas, and even those swings have been reactive. Whereas how can we finally do something proactive where we all are learning from all the generations that have gone before us and saying, we really can provide more resilience. We know about emotions. We can talk about emotions now. We know success isn't what we want to go for. We know it's not what we want kids to go for, happiness either, but we can build them up in ways that they do feel ready to handle whatever life's bringing at them, whatever life's bringing towards them.
I guess I have two questions that go together. One, what are ways that we can set them up to do that better? What are scenarios we can put our kids in that help build their feelings of being capable? And then what are the things that we get wrong in feeling like we're going to set them up? And in retrospect, you kind of go, yeah, that may have been a little ambitious, or we're protecting them too much, whatever those are. So how do we...
But we think we're helping.
We think we're helping. What are those two things?
And you know what I love about what you added to that, John, is that I think we do so often believe we're helping. That feels so important to know, because I think we're not interfering in ways we believe to be harmful, but ways we believe to be supportive. And in doing so, at times, getting in the way with that quote unquote helping. But I was thinking, Dave, to your great question, that, and this is going to feel hard to hear, it's a great reminder for me too. I think it is allowing kids we love to always be in some context where they experience discomfort.
Wow, jeez Louise.
Which is where the good growth happens.
Yeah.
And to the other part of your question, for every parent listening, and this is my reminder too, figuring out what do I need to do to deal with my own discomfort while I'm observing this happening. You know,
God,
we have never heard more evidence.
Jason, edit that out. Keep going, Dave.
Cut that and send it to Dave. Jason.
We've never heard more parents of young children report, you know, he'll only eat 3 foods. If I try to serve this, like all the different ways that, excuse me, that I think we don't want our kids to experience discomfort in different contexts. And we can't work through watching the struggle happen. If they were to sit through a meal and we said, you know what, chicken, broccoli, and rice are the 3 things we're having for dinner tonight. I'm not going to make a second option at this point.
It's funny because it's like we're not resilient parents.
Right.
Maybe that's the first problem.
Well, we can't deal with the discomfort ourselves. So therefore, I can't allow it to happen in front of me. And you all know what I was thinking of this morning. This is fascinating to remember this. So when I was growing up, I was a competitive swimmer. And I taught swimming lessons like a junior teacher when I was in high school and then in college as well. And at that time in the world, parents always sat on the side of the pool and watched the whole thing happen. When I took my daughter, my firstborn, for swimming lessons, the new quote-unquote way of doing it was parents couldn't be in the room. And I remember asking the swim instructor who I knew, the woman who ran this business later, like, is that because it's just too hard for kids when they see their mom and dad? And she was like, it's not too hard for kids, it's too hard for parents.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
And so because they can't watch them struggling, you know, that they're crying their way through, sometimes going underwater and blowing bubbles and all the things, I have to have them be in another room. And I remember being in the room, and we laughed about it, all the parents, like it was like the waiting space. And we could hear the crying happening in the other room. And the different ways that different parents are working with that. Like one mom brought her headphones every week, which I thought was brilliant. She's like, I have to listen to music because that sound just undoes me. Another mom was walking around the building. You had to be on the premises but not in the room. She's like, I can't be that close to it. And another mom was peeled to the glass watching it happen. And the second the door opened, she had feedback for all the instructors.
Oh, wow.
And I think it was her way of believing I can somehow control what's going on, even though I wasn't in the room, and I signed the contract and agreed to stand, but I watched every bit of it, and the discomfort was so great. I've got to manage these people because I can't manage my emotions. And thinking about that progression as one example of where I think, to the way you all asked that, we just sometimes, and I think she believed she was helping the swim instructors out, giving all that feedback, but interfering because she could not deal with her own discomfort and allow a kid she loves to be in the middle of it. Which, think about the very context we're discussing, like every one of us wants the kids we love to learn to swim so they're safe out in the world and they can enjoy this experience as they become adults themselves at some point. But if I stand in the way, that skill development doesn't happen. And to stay with that analogy, they're not safe maneuvering the world on their own. And we could apply that wisdom to a lot of things.
You know, something that, no, you're going to say something smarter.
Well, no, not smart necessarily, but I just want to say on parents' behalf, too, as we're thinking about this, that we really believe part of the problem is the experts that are out there today, that the amount of times we have parents say, will that disrupt attachment? Will I be the reason they're in counseling? Will I damage my relationship? Yes, exactly. Will I damage my relationship permanently? And I think there's this sense of, if I just let them figure it out, if I let them cry too long in their room, whatever it is, I'm going to cause a rupture in our relationship permanently that we won't come back from.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rather than realizing that's the ebb and flow of relationship, and every parent has to be the bad guy.
God, that's great. Well, again, something you guys have helped us understand, so many people understand is, it's that rupture and repair. It's
right.
And I think the more that we can acquaint ourselves with this thought of like, there's no way to do it perfect, but when you don't do it, it's really just about the repair. And kids are so unbelievably forgiving.
Yes.
And God, by the grace of God, made them that way, that if we can initiate in ways that we see the healing, that most of the time they're going to go, hey, it's okay. Like, I see your heart. I know that it's good. I know it's for me. You had a slip up. And I think to y'all, again, which y'all have talked so much about in y'all's counseling and books and this rupture and repair idea, that I was going to say too, Dave, I think something that, I think there's something Annie and I feel, not just with the inability to see our kids in pain or in discomfort, rather. I think it's also with Annie and I wonder if other parents agree with this, it's just impatience.
Yes.
It's like you got two first children that are A-types just going, I'll do it. Or just let me, it's just taking too long. Like, and instead of going like, hey, this is going to take them a while to figure this out, and we got to sit on the side and just go like, just grab. No, just grab. No, here, come here. And then and so I think too, some of it with Annie and I can be just an inability to just sort of, which is discomfort, obviously, but it kind of comes from this other thing of just like, I just don't want to wait this long.
Right.
So,
I don't wait this long for anything anymore.
Yeah,
we
that's
don't
right.
have to.
That's
there
right.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, which makes,
Yeah.
that I get really, really convicted about that, especially. I mean, I don't like seeing them in discomfort, but I also think there's a weird thing that I have to deal with, which is like, just let it play out. Just stay seated. Let this thing go, because you're teaching them that they can't do it when you do that.
Right.
I don't know if y'all know that. I want to tell y'all.
It makes me think of, like, Sissy, as you were talking, it makes me think of the sort of parallel of when you have some kind of an ailment and you don't know what it is, and then one can go down this rabbit hole of trying to figure out what is causing this lightheadedness or whatever. And for anyone who has experienced that, it is like, it can be a completely discombobulating just nothingness that you're swimming through, and then all of a sudden everything means something. And, I wonder if with parenting, I don't know what the fix is. It's like, sometimes I think, do we have too much time that we're spending with our kids? Which feels wrong to say, but I feel personally in our generation of parents, I feel, especially when the kids were younger, I felt this constant sort of like guilt of like, I'm not spending enough time with them. And I would lay in bed at night and I would be like, I spent so much time with them today. I mean, we jumped on the trampoline, we played, with dolls, et cetera, we went on a walk. But I would always feel this sort of like angst of like, but did I connect with them? Which I don't know if Mike McLaughlin were here. He's the greatest dad in the world. I don't know that he was ever feeling that.
Great point.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, we had a season where we played basketball in the driveway together a ton, and it's one of my core memories, and I love it. But it's he and I weren't like laying in the grass in the backyard together, like looking at ants. That was not happening.
And you mean the insects? Because that would be a different.
Our ants would come in from Chicago, and they.
Well, I didn't know if you were spying.
They like to tan.
Okay, I didn't.
That story got weird. Yeah.
They like to tan is one of my favorite things you've ever said.
And again, I think that seems like a logical like sort of diagnosis of the problem, but I don't know how you back off from that as parents. You know what I mean? Spend less time with your kids. But it seems like that may be, what the doctor ordered in some cases.
I think it's a perfect example of Sissy talking about the swings and extremes. I think it is this sense of, a lot of parents of this day grew up with parents who probably didn't spend enough time, and the swing is, I need to spend all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, another place where we hear a lot of evidence is I grew up with parents who didn't really listen. They didn't understand me. They didn't know the things I was experiencing. And so I'm going to listen to everything.
Right.
And listening is great. Connecting is great. Spending time with kids is great. Like, please hear us acknowledging all of that. But I work with a lot of boys who throw this declaration at their parents, moms in particular a lot. They'll say, "You're not listening to me." And moms start to question, maybe I'm not listening enough. And I think sometimes what they're saying is, you're not agreeing with me. You're not allowing me to do this on my own terms. And it triggers that sense of, maybe I'm not listening enough. Maybe I'm not connected enough. Maybe I'm not attuned enough. And the reality is, no. I think it's great. I had a mom last week who was able to dissect that with her son in real time and to say, you know what? I think I'm actually a really good listener. But I think what's happening is I'm not agreeing with you.
That's
amazing. So I am listening. I'm not agreeing with you. But I think it's everything you're saying within that question. But the swings and extremes, we'd encourage every parent listening right now to be thinking about that. Like, think about your own journey and where might I be overcompensating simply out of that place of what I didn't get.
Yeah.
And offering too much in that space or shaming myself out of that space.
Anyway, everyone was backstage.
No way. The entire cast of Disney.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, speaking of production, Dave, I feel like improving your sleep has somehow become this whole production.
Look at you.
Like new mattress, blackout curtains, supplements, tracking your REM cycles. It's exhausting just thinking about it. It makes me want to sleep, ironically.
Yeah, can I tell you what's interesting?
Please.
It turns into a full lifestyle change, John.
Oh, right. And funny thing is, I realized the issue for me wasn't any of that, Dave. It was just my bedding. Okay, my sheets were worn out.
Yeah.
Like, I pound those things.
Yeah.
Corners popping off. Pillows kind of flat.
Yeah.
And I didn't even notice how much it was affecting my sleep.
Just like the Fantastic Four, that's the thing. Most people don't need a whole new system, John. They just need better stuff on their bed.
On the bed, exactly. And that's why we upgraded to Bowl and Branch. I knew you knew that I was going to say.
Now, I want to be clear, not you and I.
No.
We
separately.
corporately. Yeah,
sure.
we corporately, but definitely not. Yeah.
It's wild how big of a difference it made immediately.
They make everything, too. Everything, John.
Yeah.
Not just sheets. Their signature organic cotton sheets, pillows, blankets, comforters. It's all designed to be super soft, breathable, and actually work together. Just like us.
Yeah. We started with the signature sheets. Okay, and the first night I got into bed, I knew this is different.
Different, yeah.
This is softer.
Yeah.
This is cooler. Okay, just more comfortable overall.
Though they didn't come with a signature, and that I want to be clear.
Right. No.
It's their signature sheets. You're not going to get a Michael Jordan.
We can't be
Which
more
one
clear
can
on that.
help? And the sheets, they get, just like me, John, which I don't like, they get softer over time.
You know what? I'm trying to, but to quote Mercy Me, I can't imagine sleep without Bowl and Branch right now.
Upgrade your sleep with Bowl and Branch. Get 15% off your first order plus free shipping at bowlandbranch.com/Dadville with code Dadville.
That's Bowl and Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com/Dadville. Code Dadville to unlock 15% off. Exclusions apply. Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're both excited. Go ahead. You go first.
You like to learn things, right?
You know what I always say? Always be learning. ABL.
So, have you heard of Time for Learning?
Tell me more.
Let me stop you right there and
Okay.
tell you what it is. It's an online curriculum that makes homeschooling flexible and engaging for families. Now, they cover everything from pre-K through 12th grade, core subjects, electives, and even classes you'd see in traditional schools.
Yep. And their cinema series is super cool. Grades 6 through 12 get story-driven, cinematic lessons that actually make learning feel exciting and visual instead of just reading from a textbook.
Oh my gosh. And what's great
What is this, 1989?
Yeah, come on. Let's get into the 90s at least. We're in the 20s. And that's why they're so flexible. Families can schedule subjects however they want, focus on specific topics with an emphasis on the specific.
Really want to hit it hard, John.
And even make room for hobbies, travel, and other activities. Homeschooling on your own terms.
And parents, if you're listening, which I assume you are, and for the couple of kids, listen to this too. It's easy to stay on track. Time for Learning provides templates for transcripts, grades, and diplomas so it meets all the homeschool requirements in every state.
Now listen, I'm about to blow everybody's mind right
Let's
here.
do it.
It's used by over 1 million students and families. And families love it as a full curriculum or even as a supplement for after school or summer learning.
Curious if Time for Learning is right for your family? Visit timeforlearning.com. That's time4learning.com to explore their curriculum and find the perfect plan for your student. You can get started with a monthly subscription and see how much kids enjoy learning on their own terms. Well, and I think one of the things that makes it so hard now is I think even if you take a set of parents who are really navigating this well, let's say that they have a good, equilibrium of like engaging, listening, but also challenging, giving space, not over-parenting, whatever that is. Even if they really are in agreement in their marriage, that they're like in their... There's just so much other information to juxtapose it against. Yes. Right. And so you can feel like, I feel like we're handling this pretty well. And the minute you bump into another couple, or if you're scrolling on social media, whatever, and you see like, oh my gosh, they did a family intensive for a week where the 5 of them went and sat in the mountains with a guru and you're like, well, I mean, I thought we were doing well, but maybe we need to do the mountain guru thing. Mm-hmm. And so I think it takes... I mean, and I don't know what living through the Depression was like, or World War I or II or whatever, but it can definitely feel, I think, to this generation, one of the real struggles is staying dedicated to something when it feels like everything in the world is pushing you to do the thing that they're doing, or like society or TV or whatever's podcasts are saying like, hey, like you may be doing well, but something I really think that could really help you. And so you really have to have this unbelievable steadfastness and belief in the things you know to be true to keep you from swaying, because you can feel amazing about it and then bump into a friend at a basketball game and like, hey, we just did this thing. And you're like, well, dadgummit, like, do we need, you just have to really sort of calm yourself so it's about to go, hey, I mean, am I crazy here? Do you think this? And so I think it's not just that. It's also just knowing that there's just so many other, and a lot of them are well-meaning things. They're just coming into your orbit hourly if you're not careful. And so you're having to make these micro decisions every day of like, well, do I need to go grab him after school and do this whole thing with him? And that wasn't really my plan today. Or do we take the next weekend and fly to wherever to do a father-daughter thing? And I don't know, maybe we should. And it just feels, it's just like when that's kind of the arms race of today, to your point, John, is this kind of like everybody's moving in these directions. You're like, you have to have this crazy, I mean, I think that's what the book helps with, is really trying to develop this sense of steadfastness and anchoredness to ideals that you go, hey, no matter what's happening, at the end of the day, we believe in rupture and repair. We believe we're going to mess up. It's just about, we believe in intentionality, but not at the cost of our own lives as parents, or, getting out of a modality that we think is true to satiate this outside force that we don't actually agree with, but man, a lot of our friends are doing it, and then we're like, so I think it's those factors too can be so intense, So it's,
I had my first mom of a 14-year-old about a month ago say, so we were at this family gathering, and my 14-year-old daughter started being really disrespectful, and I was humiliated, and I got real teary, and I didn't know what to do, so I went to the bathroom, and I got on my favorite parenting app and got on the chat bot and said, what do you do with the disrespect? 14-year-old.
Wow.
And I think, to your point of that, all the noise coming in, I think that's part of the swing where we are now, is this expert or other-led movement. Parents, all of us, individually, kids. I mean, to your question about technology, I think perfectionism is so much worse because we're watching everyone else's life and perspective. And out of the things that you were naming that we value, I think God speaks to you about your kids. He doesn't speak to you about his kids.
He does. That's what we're going to talk about.
He does. I've got some papers.
Here we go.
But that intuition, I think as a therapist, my prayer every day is that the Holy Spirit really leads my intuition. And so I know where to go. And if I was watching different therapists on Instagram before I walked into a session, I feel like they had to do all the things they were doing that day, rather than God speaks to you
Yeah.
the strongest and the loudest about what your kids need.
Well, and I tell you the other thing that I find myself feeling, and I think can be a part of this capability piece too, which if you want to add this to the next round of books, it's totally fine by me. I've got a couple of quotes I can send you, just text you now. No, but I think that I find myself struggling with is also not just like how do we make sure they're ready for the world, but I find this with me. I'm like, how am I setting my kids up in an ecosystem that's not a real ecosystem in the world? Mm. That to me is really daunting. Is that because you can overserve them, you can create little scenarios that aren't real life. And then you're kind of like, well, that felt good because I told my friends we did this thing, whatever. But then they get out in life and like, hey, my boss doesn't treat me like you treat me. And you're like, oh, shoot. Or like,
which
my
is
friends
certainly
don't,
happening.
Or my friends don't observe these things that I do and think are and now I just don't know how to move because when I go like, hey, this is, and they're like, yeah, we don't care. And you're like, good. Mm-hmm. So I think there's another piece too that I get nervous about is you can create these incredible sort of like 18 years of life for your kid that really are beautiful in a lot of ways, and they're high experience and they're high intentionality and they're high listening but then your kid gets out in the world and they're like, everyone is here to listen to me, to see that I have the best experience, to cater to my whims and whimsies, and they get out there and they get eaten alive. And so I think that's the other piece is capability is so powerful. It's not just going, how can I set them up well, but also like I need to have discipline as a parent to realize like they're going to get chucked into the grinding gears of life at some point. And what can be beautifully intentioned things just doesn't set them up well because it gives them this false sense of life that feel great for a parent because you do all these trips and it's all great and it really is great and it creates core memories, but there has to be a discipline too of going like, how do I do this, but also let my kid know like, hey man, this is not real life. Yeah. And I think that's such an interesting sort of like friction point, as a parent, how do you do that? Like, how do you navigate those things,
It's so important. I think about what you're saying as I think back on the first question we talked about and the differences now is, the assumption would be if we think about what we have access to at this point in time that our parents didn't have access to, our grandparents certainly didn't. The assumption would be we have more information, there's more support, we know more about mental health in kids, that kids would be the sturdiest they've ever been at any point in history because they have more support, we have more access to resources and information. And not only is that not the case, like we're seeing some of the scariest statistics we've seen in 30 years of doing this work. Yeah. So to the wisdom of your question, Dave, it's like if we give too much, we actually build fragility.
That's a great word. That's a great word.
And is where I think that question's so important of, is there some context where they're experiencing discomfort and I'm working through it? And I remember having this really funny moment when you were talking about that of I took my daughter to New York for the first time when she was 16 and we had a little dad-daughter trip and she'd grown up only in the South, and she has kind of a quiet voice. She's really polite and kind. And I remember we went into a bagel shop to order, and I started to order for her. 16-year-old, because I thought, she talks soft, it's loud in here, they won't be able to hear. She'll order slowly. And then I was like, no, she might go to school in New York. She might go to grad school. Like, I've got to let her have the full weight of this experience. Yeah. And sure enough, as you'd imagine, this adorable little teenage girl said, I love everything bagel with a and he was like, what? I can't hear you. Louder. He was like, and everything
You're
in
not
me.
resilient enough for this bagel
there
shop.
It is. There it is.
Like, and your daughter either, sir.
Everything in me wanted to step forward again. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to grab him by the neck, and then I wanted to order I wanted all of it to stop, and that was my discomfort. It's like, no. She's going to go off to school at some point. Mm-hmm. She's going to encounter difficult people, whether it's a professor, whether it's somebody in admin, whether it's a guy taking her order in the restaurant, wherever it may be. And so I think, where are we making decisions in the everyday that stand in the way of that opportunity that is part of, I think, playing the long game of knowing, to your wise question, like they're going to be out in the world. Yeah. Have I prepared them for that, or have I bubble wrapped the experience in ways where they're not?
No, you can't. I'm pretty sure if in a tickle fight, that's how the rules work. So you can't change them.
Yeah, and that's how I thought it worked for most of my life, and I had to rethink it. And speaking of rethinking, this time of year always makes me rethink what's in my closet.
So good.
Okay? I'm trying to keep fewer things, but better things. Like pieces that are well-made, easy to wear. I don't want something that's difficult to wear.
Day. You need something for everyday wear.
That's why I keep coming back to Quince. The fabrics feel elevated. You know how I like elevation.
You do.
And the fits are thoughtful, and the pricing actually makes sense, Dave.
John, we can't quit Quince.
No, won't do it.
And that's a free tagline from them as being a sponsor to us. That we give back, John. We give back. Quince makes high-quality, everyday essentials using premium materials like 100% European linen and their insanely soft flow knit activewear.
So soft, it's insane.
It's great. You run faster. You don't run faster. The men's linen pants and shirts are lightweight, breathable, and comfortable. The perfect layer for spring.
Listen, I'll tell you what, Dave.
Please.
Their linen pants have become my go-to, and that's with a number 2, just to kind of make it edgy.
Okay.
They're breathable, comfortable, and look more polished than I expected.
Yeah.
And the price?
Yeah.
Way less than I thought quality linen would cost,
You're going to laugh
Dave.
at the price, guys. I
Yeah,
don't think they're going to stay afloat, this company. They're giving away. They're just giving away their merchandise.
Get it quick.
It is. Now, I'm going to tell you about it right now so you can go get it. The Flow Knit Activewear is awesome, too. Moisture wicking, anti-odor, and soft enough that you want to wear it every day.
If that's not crazy enough, what's crazier is how much money you're going to save. You'll be annoyed at how much money
You'll buy
have.
new properties.
Yeah. Their prices are 50 to 60% less than similar brands. Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middleman. So you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Everything is designed to last.
Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/Dadville for free shipping and 365-day returns.
That's a full calendar year.
Would you let me finish, John?
I'm so excited.
Everybody's clawing. They want the information. Now available in Canada, too, okay? So go to QUINCE.com/Dadville for free shipping and 365-day returns.
That's a full calendar year.
Quince.com/Dadville.
At Great Wolf Lodge, there's adventure for the whole family. You and your pack can splash away in the indoor water park where it's always 84 degrees. There's a massive wave pool, a lazy river, and tons of water slides for your pack to enjoy together. And the fun doesn't stop there. Get ready to explore and play at adventure-packed attractions from Magi Quest, a live-action game that takes place throughout the lodge, to the Northern Lights Arcade. There's also a bunch of great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. And the best part? With 22 lodges across the country, you're always only a short drive away from adventure. So bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Book your stay today at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
Well, and I think, if I start, we've got our kids in private school, and that's a struggle. I mean, that's not something we thought we would do. And, them going to Covenant was kind of like the cheapest version of that. So we thought this is kind of private school junior. And then it was such a great experience. And then, with CPA and the next, it just all felt like the natural moves. Also, the most stress that I have in my life, as John knows, is private school, and I'm choosing to have it. But I think if there's a huge concern about doing that, it's like, this is not helping them in some ways. It really isn't. And so, Annie and I both have to weigh this thing of how do we sort of justify these decisions we're making? And I think we obviously believe in it, but we also know, there can be knock-on effects that are pretty substantial from this. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's just these decisions we often make where you go how do we, as John said earlier, this generation, I think we've never been more probably attuned to our kids than any generation before, which is wonderful and intentional, which is beautiful.
Yes.
Really, really beautiful.
Absolutely.
And I know y'all don't, but I don't want to sound like the dad who's kind of like, we're ruining our kids. Not at all. I think there's probably some connectivity that y'all see more than anybody that's really amazing to see with parents. That may be in some ways not unique to this generation, but probably a little more widespread with this generation. But I think as we do those things, I would say private school, that could be tricky for my kids when they get into a scenario where they don't feel as the benefits of private school that they get aren't out there. And they're going, wait a second, I'm used to these rhythms that just aren't provided. And But even that, in a weird way, is just trusting they'll be capable to navigate that. But it's funny because even the most well-intended things, like I said earlier, can be, they have a part that you're like, well, that, that could also be hard.
Are there some like practical sort of daily things that you guys recommend parents start to implement to sort of have some baseline?
Would there be like 3 C's or something that you guys have?
There are 3
wink,
C's.
Wink.
Yes. Do you want to talk about the 3 C's?
You say what you're about to say first.
Well, we kind of go at it from 2 different perspectives. One is in the book, we have literally 100 capable building exercises for kids.
Louise.
Littles, middles, and olders. So things parents can do immediately that are fun and silly and can bring you together as a family, and then some that are deeper and more reflective and thoughtful. But we also, we definitely, the first half of the book, are trying to, I think, invite parents into this idea that we really do have to do something to create some urgency about it. And then the second half are the subtitle I didn't remember, strengths, skills, and strategies. And there are 5 of each, things that we feel like really are the building blocks of resilience that kids are missing. And I'll give you one practical example, that is flexibility. That we are living in an age where kids do not want to have any flexibility, that control has become their primary coping strategy.
Yeah.
And so we're hearing more parents of boys and girls talk about anger and rage when they're out of control, whether it's the schedule changed or they didn't get the birthday present they thought they were going to get. And so we really outline the importance of practicing flexibility as a family, and how can you throw your kids some curveballs. And it's funny because when we do parenting seminars, we'll talk a little bit about this, and David will say, like, I want you to go home and tonight at the dinner table, I want everyone to move 1 seat to the left.
Oh, man.
See?
That is hysterical.
And that's what, you should see how stricken people are in the audience when he says it. And to your point, I don't remember what my seat was at the dinner table. And I think if I had gotten upset because someone would have sat in it, my parents would have laughed.
Oh, my gosh.
That was just not a thing. But now the rigidity is linked to anxiety. And because we're giving in to this lack of flexibility, we're only making anxiety worse.
Yeah.
Whereas it feels like helping them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So flexibility is certainly one practically I think we've got to be leaning into and helping kids work through. Because how flexible did you have to be today before we walked into this room?
Yeah.
It is
John
required
was literally
of life.
doing stretches, so and I mean that. He literally was doing stretches.
I'm trying as hard as I can. So let me ask you this.
Wait, did we get the 3 C's?
No,
sorry, go ahead.
All this is rooted in a definition that we came up with that is capable kids have practice coping and learn competence for life's challenges. So coping, there they are. And I was thinking even to marry that bigger idea with the practical too. Sissy will often, when we teach, ask parents, okay, right now at this moment, whatever age your kids are, think about 2 things that you are currently doing for them that they could be doing for themselves.
Wow.
And then think about 2 things they could almost do that you're doing. So if it's filling up their own water bottle, if it's ordering for themselves in a restaurant, if it is getting your driver's license, if whatever
they're getting
it may
an
be.
A in math consistently, have them take a crack at taxes.
You are. This is good stuff, John. This is good stuff. People need
kill
to listen.
2 birds with 1 stone. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if we're thinking in those ways in all seasons of development, like you all, I have young adults, and one of my sons was just home, and he's got a couple of friends who are getting married, and he's kind of late to book flights. And I was like, hey, you want to jump on Southwest together? And I'm like, no, you don't need to do that. Like, let him book his own flights. Like, that temptation is great, I think, in every season. Even, Dave, to your wisdom earlier, because I can do it quicker. We knock this out in the next 5 minutes, whatever it may be. If kids are pouring their own milk or juice, it's inevitably going to get messier. They're more likely to spill. If they're cooking, they're going to trash the kitchen. But all of that learning in the messy is so foundational to building capability. And then it leads us right back to the question of, what am I going to do while the mess is being made to deal with my discomfort when I'm tempted to want to get in the middle of all that and manage and control?
Golly,
I think that's really good. What are you doing? What did you say? What are 2 things that you're doing that for your kids that they could be doing themselves?
Yeah, and what are 2 things you're doing they can almost do for themselves?
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so this is less of an issue now, but with one of my daughters, for a long time, she would struggle when any sort of adult, like if she were in the room right now, and Sissy, you would be like, "Hey, what school do you go to?" She would do this. She would almost kind of panic, and she would immediately look at me or look at Amy as kind of like, "Help me, walk me through," And this is a low stakes example, but for a long time, we would just immediately be like, "You go to," say the name of the school, as parents do with like babies and toddlers at the park. You have these conversations through your kids, but
in the
with
voice
each other.
Of your kids, yeah.
Like, oh,
Yes.
you have a shirt like that, But at what point are we? Then we started kind of letting her hang out there for a minute, and we would just smile and kind of nod, and I can feel, again, this is a very innocuous, like low stakes example, but my little parent dad heart is like, am I seeing her getting scarred? Is she never going to speak with anyone ever again? Which obviously is too extreme, but how do parents know where the line is? Is it just like you're just going to have to know? You're just going to have to fumble through it? Or where do we know when we're like, okay, that's too much. We need to jump in and help. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a hard question. And I would say, just like you knew when to stop answering and give her a few seconds, I would think about what's kind of a notch from where you are now. And to trust, put down the phone, trust that you're going to be the one who knows exactly what she needs. And even understanding, which John and Dave, both of you are such intuitive dads. We have a section in the book where we talk about kind of the challenges for boys and for girls specifically. And I talk about fears, feelings, and failings are the three biggest challenges for girls to capability. And I think even to give her a minute, if she doesn't step in, to think about what is it in that moment, what is happening for her, why is it happening for her, and what can we do to practice in real time. And so thinking through in that story, walking away and saying, okay, let's practice next time somebody asks you what school you go to. And even, was it this sense of, I have to say something really funny in the moment.
Yeah.
Or I have to say something really great, because I think for so many girls that can block it. I went to, both my nephews had soccer games Saturday back to back, 30 minutes within each other. And my little 4-year-old nephew is a riot. And I think feels very capable in the world currently. Right before the game started, he was kissing his muscles.
Oh, I love that.
And then pawing like a bull before he ran out onto the field.
Wow.
I know. It says a lot about cute little wit. And then the woman next to me, her daughter, I was watching her hang back, and she ran over to her mom, and her mom said, "Honey, it's not mean to go for the ball." And I think that's with girls. That is such a significant thing that happens. And I love the intuition of that mom in that moment of, she knew exactly what was challenging her daughter's capability. And so thinking about what's underneath it and what can I do to shore them up before we go into the situation, if at all possible, and then sit in the discomfort for as long as you can.
So for the last couple minutes, I'd love, as we think about parents, because I think you guys have said this already, but just for a second to give a little more intent to that. As parents who are listening, John and I included, it does feel like this is one of those classic, as you guys have said, that it's a parents first thing. Like, hey, we got to work on this ourselves. Yes. We're really going to lead well in it. How would you encourage parents in that on that line of thought? Parents that are listening going, what do they mean when they say, I need to work on these things? Or how, what does that look like to y'all? So to take it out of the kids' sphere, to go hey, parents are listening, me and John included, how do we know, and you kind of inferred this earlier, in that moment, what are you feeling? But what does that look like for a parent to try to understand how they may be struggling with this piece too?
One thought I had as you were asking that, Dave, one of my favorite parts of the book, and I was even thinking about it, John, when you asked that question about your daughter, we break down the 4 primary relationships of dads and daughters, mothers and sons, fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, and some unique hurdles to capability that exist out of the uniqueness of those relationships. And I think it's fascinating to me, even as I was listening to you tell that story, and I was thinking back on my story in New York, how intuitively I would move into rescue with my daughter in ways that I wouldn't do with my sons. That, there's this kind of thing in me that rises up that, as a man, I feel this sense of I want my boys to be prepared to be men in this world. And we know what that takes and how hard that is. And so I would be harder out of that place, out of a good desire. In ways that we talk about how much harder moms often are on girls from the same place. They know what it takes to be a woman in this world. And so we're inviting parents into thinking about some unique hurdles that exist within those relationships that could get in the way, that I think would be a starting point to your question, that I think aren't always unique to that relationship, but we would argue in 30 years of doing this are often unique. Like, we're fascinated by how often we will see moms be really hard on girls and oftentimes coddling boys. I had a mom who grew up with 3 brothers, and she said, I was in high school when it hit me that I had been making my own lunch since elementary school, and my mom was still making my brother's lunch.
Holy cow.
Like, it just kind of occurred to me, like, what is wrong with this equation? That's hilarious. That's but one of 100 examples we could give, where I think if we're not paying attention to the uniqueness of that relationship, there could be some things that get in the way.
Wow.
That'd be a good starting point.
I mean, I only have daughters, but I would imagine it's like if I had a son, it's your child, but it's also you. Like, you see yourself there. When you have daughters, it's just your child.
Yes.
I was never a 13-year-old girl, so I can't empathize on that sort of like cellular level. Yes. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's I feel that really acutely with my boys and with Xana, because it's like, she's, it's, and I see it with Xana and her, and Xana with, Annie with Xana, and then Annie with the boys, because you do feel she's like, hey, you need to be ready. I know how to get you ready. And then with me and the boys, I'm kind of like, all right, I know this is going to make you mad, but look, this is how this works. But then Xana can be just barely struggling. I'm like, get over here. And so I think that's a good challenge to me, because I'm excited to see that part of the book, because I can feel where I need to. And sometimes I'll get in trouble because Annie will be doing something right, and I'll feel the need to kind of, and she's like, don't do that. This is like, you're trying to relieve something that doesn't need to be relieved yet. Yes. Like, she's got to learn this, and then vice versa, where Annie can be like, God, you're being so hard on him. I'm like, no, it's not. Trust me. And it was so cute the other night. We had a ton of boys spend the night. All the Covenant boys spent the night on the 27th that night, which is really sweet. But Annie makes me laugh because when she thinks about boys in this hysterical way, where everything is like, well, let's get everything arranged. Like, so it was the cutest thing. We have a basement, and we had the mat out, and she had it laid out, and it was, these are 8th grade boys. It laid out, and okay, and then a couple can sleep on. And the whole time she's doing this, I'm like, I'm just going to let you do this, because this will be a good lesson for us all. So perfect little line, sleeping bags are ready, couch is ready. They've got that thing. And I went down the next morning.
I can't wait to hear this.
I can't say this without laughing. And because Lolly, one of the boys had gotten up kind of early, and we were all hanging out in the kitchen watching Sports Center or something, and the door got left open, so Lolly ran downstairs, and I was like, oh no, because it's like 7 a.m. And I'm like,
Lolly is the family dog.
Yeah,
just in case. Yeah.
And that's y'all's fault, by the way. Thank you for that, by the way. So I careened down the stairs because I'm like, oh, she's gonna wake everybody up, and so first of all, they're not on the mats that she had. So, and the sleeping bags are still there. So then I had this moment of like, they're down here, right? So I turned the corner to go, and I thought there was a gas leak that had killed them all, because the way that they are laying, it looks like they had paused and fallen asleep in the middle of a Twister game, because it was like one boy's got his leg like under his head somehow, and then another one's right on top of him. These are 8th grade boys. And I grabbed her, and I started laughing so hard I had to go upstairs, because I was like, she had just, and everything is, and then we've got water if you need it, and and I just thought to myself, that is that is that little moment where I was like, babe, you don't understand. They're not, and then the next day she's like, okay, let's get some food for, and I was like, hey, we have 100 boxes of Jets pizza left over. That's all they need for lunch. She's like, no, go by Chick-fil-A. And I was like, I'm not doing this. They don't care. Just like, and of course, then later she cooked some because we had some, and she's like, look at all the chicken nuggets here. And I was like, okay, whatever. But, there is that funny thing about your own gender that you just kind of know, like, no, I kind of know how this works. I don't need, thank you, Dave, for your outside input on Santa. I think I know, that you do have to be careful of, which is so surprising to me, Okay, as we release you to the wild, because there's thousands of families that are queued up outside of Daystar waiting to just be helped and realize how capable they are. So you guys have stuff coming up. Y'all are doing live events. Obviously, the book is out the 21st of April.
Yes.
And then tell us what's coming up that people need to know about.
We are doing an 8-city tour, so if we're coming anywhere,
y'all are on tour. You are officially on tour.
We are the last week of April and the first week of May. So we'd love for anybody to come join us.
That is so
really
fun.
That's
great.
Can you name some of this? Not all of them, but just like what areas will y'all be in? So
Nashville, Birmingham, Oklahoma City,
Atlanta,
Dallas, Houston, Austin,
Charlotte.
Well, you actually knew them.
No, Raleigh, Durham.
Do not get that wrong. They will revolt.
Okay.
We love Charlotte.
And y'all will be there.
Love Charlotte.
Which is, the live, I've seen y'all numerous times live. And it's not, I think just to encourage y'all, anyone that's listening that hasn't been, it's not your typical, you kind of go in, there's like a nice lecture, and you guys just do such a good job making it engaging. It's wonderfully lighthearted, but around things that are very substantial. And so, it's no wonder that, people love coming to these things because they're really great. You guys do. So anybody listening, if you're contemplating it, it is a hugely helpful but warm, congenial night. It doesn't feel like, listening to like 4 TED Talks in a row where you're kind of like, well, it's a lot of information.
Where do people go to get tickets?
RaisingBoysAndGirls.com. JohnMCL.com will be different tickets. I want to make sure.
Just tickets
in
general.
Will not be tickets but while you're getting tickets, just go on a ticket spree and get ours. No, RaisingBoysAndGirls.com.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
And the book is out. And then I was going to say I wanted to give a small plug. The podcast, which everybody knows, I've got a bajillion downloads, but the Enneagram thing, what a fun. It's funny. I don't know if y'all like this. I've purposely not started it because I know that once I do, I'm just going to, so I've got it queued, like they're all saved, but I was like, okay, once they're done, I'm just going to do like the, this is a selfish question. What was your favorite part of that? Or was there something because y'all know how much I love the Enneagram. And this is the last off-subject question. What was y'all's favorite part of doing that? Or did y'all learn something specific to that was like really, wow?
I would first say it's one of my favorite series we've ever done.
Really?
We have never, I don't know that I remember getting as much feedback and how much fun it's been for families to have conversations together. That's been really fun feedback to hear that we've loved, that surprised and encouraged us. What would you say?
Well, y'all know that C.S. Lewis quote. I'm going to butcher it, but something about you two. I thought I was the only one, that's when friendship is born. It was so fun to interview people of the same number, and they would always be sitting on our couch, John being one, and speaking to us, and at some point it was like we stopped being in the room. And they were saying, really? Me too. I didn't know that other people felt that way. And I think that's what I love about the Enneagram so much. And our hope is that whole series is that kind of experience for everybody.
Knowing, I'm going to say the obvious thing, and then we can end it here, but I think knowing what motivates your kids is such a phenomenal hack.
Yes.
Good gracious, is that helpful to realize like, oh man, you consistently bend this way in contexts. So then I know that about you is just so helpful. It's unbelievably helpful, Well, you know how much we love y'all. Y'all are the best.
Yeah, thank you
We're
so
excited.
much.
You know how much we love you guys.
No.
We always love having y'all on. I'm excited y'all have more content in the world to help people.
Stitch Fix. Shopping is hard. Let's talk about it.
I don't have time to shop, so I buy all my clothes where I buy my seafood.
I just want someone to tell me what shirt goes with what pants.
I just want jeans that fit. Stitch Fix makes shopping easy. Just show your size, style, and budget, and your stylist sends personalized looks right to your door. No subscription required, plus free shipping and returns.
Man, that was easy. I look good.
Stitch Fix, online personal styling for everyone. Take your style quiz today at StitchFix.com.
Putting off replacing your window treatments because you think it's complicated? At Blinds.com, we've spent 30 years proving it doesn't have to be. And today is your last chance to save big on Spring Black Friday deals. Whether you want to DIY it or have a pro to handle everything from measure to install, we've got you. Free samples, real design experts, and zero pressure. Just help when you need it. Shop up to 45% off with minimum purchase, plus get a free professional measure during the Blinds.com Spring Black Friday Last Chance sale. Rules and restrictions apply.